My name is Lena, and I was 25 years old when I found out my husband, the man I'd loved since college, the man I'd built a life with, sold me. Not literally, of course. Not with a price tag and a handshake in some dark alley. It was far more insidious. He sold my talent, my ideas, my very potential, to his boss. A predatory man who saw women as commodities and innovation as something to be stolen. He handed me over, wrapped in a bough of opportunity, and then watched as they tried to strip me bare. But they underestimated one thing. A woman pushed too far can become an unstoppable force. Would you like to know how I clawed my way out and built my own empire from the ashes of his betrayal? It was a Tuesday, just past midnight, when the email landed in my inbox. My husband, Alex, was asleep beside me, his breathing even and calm. I, however, was wide awake, buzzing with the final surge of adrenaline from cracking a particularly complex algorithm. For months, I'd been pouring every spare moment into Project Chimera, a revolutionary AI that could streamline logistics for global shipping. It was my brainchild, my passion, the culmination of years of quiet, relentless work. Alex, a junior executive at a prominent tech firm, had always been my biggest cheerleader, or so I thought. He'd encouraged me, listened patiently to my ramblings, and even helped me refine my pitches. The email was from his boss, Alistair Thorne, CEO of Thorne Global Logistics. The subject line read, "Lena Sharma, Project Chimera, Acquisition Proposal." My heart hammered against my ribs. Acquisition. I hadn't even shown this to anyone outside of a select few trusted mentors. I opened it, my fingers trembling slightly. The proposal was staggering. It offered a significant sum, enough to set Alex and me up for life, for exclusive rights to Project Chimera, with me listed as a key consultant for a probationary period, after which my role would be re-evaluated. It also mentioned a substantial bonus for Alex, for facilitating this groundbreaking introduction. I scrolled down, past the legalese and the tempting numbers, until I hit the attached documents. There, among the technical specifications that were undeniably mine, was a series of emails. Emails between Alex and Thorne. Date-stamped weeks, even months earlier. Alex to Thorne, May 12th. "Sir, I truly believe Lena's work is groundbreaking. She's been developing an AI. I think it aligns perfectly with your vision for the company's future. I've attached some preliminary data she shared with me." Thorne to Alex, May 15th. "Intriguing, Alex. Very intriguing. Bring her in. And make sure she understands the opportunity here. Discretion is paramount." Alex to Thorne, June 1st. "She's almost ready to share a working demo. I've been subtle, encouraging her to focus on the bigger picture. How this could revolutionize an industry, rather than just be a personal project. She trusts me implicitly." The words blurred before my eyes. He hadn't just introduced me. He had groomed me. He had fed my ambition, nurtured my trust, all while selling off pieces of my dream behind my back. "She trusts me implicitly." That line cut the deepest. I looked at Alex, sleeping peacefully next to me. His face, so familiar, suddenly felt alien, a mask I'd never seen through. This wasn't just ambition. This was a calculated betrayal. He hadn't believed in me so much as he believed in the value I represented to him. The next morning was a haze. I moved through our shared apartment, making coffee, getting ready for work, as if nothing had changed. Alex was oblivious, humming along to the radio, talking about his upcoming golf game with Thorne. Every casual touch, every shared glance, felt like a lie. I accepted Thorne's opportunity. On paper it was lucrative. In reality it was a gilded cage. I was installed in a lavish office at Thorne Global Logistics, given a team and told to integrate Chimera. But the subtle shifts began almost immediately. My original code, my revolutionary algorithms, were quickly rebranded. My name was gradually minimized in presentations, replaced by Thorne's visionary new initiative. I was a cog, albeit a highly paid one, in their machine. Alex, meanwhile, was lauded. He received a hefty promotion, a corner office, and public praise for his strategic foresight. The bitterness festered inside me. Every time Alex celebrated his new successes, every time Thorne introduced me as Alex's brilliant wife who came up with a little idea we're developing, a cold resolve hardened my core. I learned quickly that anger, if channeled right, could be a powerful fuel. I was no longer building Project Chimera for me. I was building it for my freedom. The first step of my revenge was subtle. I became the perfect employee. I worked late, I delivered results, I surpassed every expectation. I made myself indispensable to Thorne Global Logistics, specifically to the integration of Project Chimera. I listened intently in meetings, absorbing every detail of Thorne's business, every weakness, every vulnerability. Thorne's empire was vast, but I started to see the cracks in its foundation. An over-reliance on manual processes in other departments, a complacency born of market dominance, and a deeply ingrained culture of fear that stifled true innovation. While I publicly integrated Chimera into Thorne's existing infrastructure, I was quietly doing something else. I was building its successor, a far more sophisticated and disruptive AI, right under their noses. I called it Phoenix. Unlike Chimera, which streamlined logistics, Phoenix was designed to optimize and automate entire supply chains, rendering human intervention almost obsolete in many areas. It was faster, smarter, and infinitely more adaptable. I wrote every line of its code, not on Thorne's servers, but on a heavily encrypted personal cloud, accessible only through a network of burner devices. My relationship with Alex became a carefully constructed facade. I feigned interest in his promotions, his new car, his glowing reviews from Thorne. I let him believe he was a genius, a kingmaker. I smiled at family dinners where his parents praised his astuteness and hinted at a brilliant future. I even cooked his favorite meals. All the while, I was gathering information, meticulously mapping out Thorne's vulnerabilities, and perfecting Phoenix. The final piece of my plan involved a seemingly innocuous internal hackathon that Thorne Global Logistics organized. It was meant to foster innovation, a PR stunt more than anything. I volunteered to lead the technical side, setting up the infrastructure, and inadvertently, designing the security protocols. It was my chance to implant Phoenix without a trace. The day came. The hackathon was a chaotic blur of coders and consultants. While Thorne and Alex mingled, accepting accolades, I executed my plan. I uploaded Phoenix to a dormant server, masked as a routine system update, and then linked it to the critical infrastructure of Thorne Global Logistics. It was a silent digital ghost waiting for my command. The unraveling began 3 months later. Thorne Global Logistics was preparing for its annual shareholder meeting, a grand affair where Thorne typically boasted about record profits and revolutionary advancements, including the successful integration of Project Chimera. I chose that morning. As the first shareholders began to arrive, ready to hear about their massive returns, Phoenix awoke. It didn't crash systems or delete data. That would be too crude. Instead, it began subtly, surgically rerouting logistics. Tiny errors, almost imperceptible at first, started to crop up. High-value shipments sent to the wrong docks, perishable goods ending up in unrefrigerated warehouses, key components diverted to rival companies. Then came the cascading failures. Delivery schedules became chaotic. International shipments were halted at customs due to unforeseen routing issues. And the entire global supply chain, Thorne's pride and joy, began to grind to a halt. Panic erupted within the company. Thorne Global Logistics, lauded for its efficiency, was suddenly bleeding millions by the hour. The news channels, usually so eager to praise Thorne, were now filled with reports of unprecedented logistical failures. Alex, frantic, called me from his office. "Lena, what's happening? They're saying Chimera is failing. You built this." "I built it, Alex," I said, my voice calm, almost chillingly so. "But you sold it. And in doing so, you sold me into a system that suffocated true innovation. You didn't just buy a program, Thorne. You bought a flawed imitation. What you're seeing now, that's not Chimera. That's the ghost of a system that tried to own something it didn't understand. In the background, I could hear Thorn's enraged shouts. Fix it. Fix it now. I can't fix it, Alex, I said, my voice hardening. Because I didn't cause it. But I know who did. And I know how to stop it. That night, Thorn's stock plummeted. Investors demanded answers. Alistair Thorne, the titan of industry, was facing ruin. I watched it all unfold from a secure location I had rented weeks ago. A small, nondescript office in a different city. My mentors, the few who had genuinely believed in me, were there. One of them, a shrewd lawyer named Anya, smiled. He's desperate. He'll call. And he did. Thorne, stripped of his bravado, called me, not Alex. His voice, usually booming, was hoarse with panic. Lena, what do you want? Name your price. Just stop this madness. It's not about money, Thorne, I said. It's about ownership. Ownership of my work. And ownership of my future. I outlined my terms. They were simple, yet devastatingly effective. Full legal and intellectual property rights to Project Chimera, and by extension Phoenix, immediately revert to me. No shared ownership, no consultancy, just mine. A public statement from Thorne Global Logistics, acknowledging my sole creation of Project Chimera and its subsequent, independent development as Phoenix. This would not be buried in a press release. It would be a major public announcement. A significant, irrevocable investment in my new venture, Aurora Labs, dedicated to ethical AI development. This was not a payment. It was seed funding for my new company, a company that would eventually become Thorne's biggest competitor. A public and undeniable severing of all ties with Alex, effective immediately. No golden parachute, no severance, just a clean break from the company he betrayed me for. His betrayal would be public knowledge within the industry. Thorne roared, he pleaded, he tried to negotiate. But with every passing hour, his empire crumbled further. Finally, through gritted teeth, he agreed. The next day, the news broke. Thorne Global Logistics announced a strategic shift, acknowledging mismanagement of proprietary technology, and praising the visionary work of Lena Sharma, now the independent CEO of Aurora Labs, a new force in global optimization. Alex's name was conspicuously absent from any mention of the company's future. His career, built on my stolen potential, evaporated overnight. He called me screaming, pleading, but I hung up. There was nothing left to say. Life after that was a whirlwind. Aurora Labs flourished. With Phoenix and the ethical framework I'd built around it, we quickly carved out our own niche, disrupting the market and gaining global recognition. I hired a team of brilliant, passionate individuals, creating a culture of true innovation and respect. My name, once minimized, became synonymous with a new era of responsible tech. And Alex, I heard whispers. He struggled to find work, his reputation tainted by the public severance and the whispers of how he'd facilitated Thorne's downfall. His gilded cage had shattered, leaving him with nothing. My revenge wasn't just about his ruin. It was about my own triumph. I found true joy in building something entirely my own, something good and ethical, something that honored the spirit of creation rather than commodifying it. One evening, a year later, I was speaking at a major tech conference. The hall was packed, the applause thunderous. As I walked off stage, a familiar face approached. It was Grandfather Silas from the old story. A mentor I hadn't connected with in years, a beacon of integrity in an industry often devoid of it. He was older, but his eyes still held that quiet wisdom. Lena, he said, a warm smile spreading across his face. I always knew you had the fire. It took a while to burn bright, but it's dazzling now. I smiled back, a genuine, unburdened smile. It just needed the right fuel, Grandfather. My life was no longer about proving anything to Alex, or to Thorne, or to anyone who doubted me. It was about building, creating, and flying free. The gilded cage was gone, replaced by the boundless sky. And that truly was a happy ending.